welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition here of the PondCast. The PondCast episode 60. I'm, of course, your side VIP. With me, I'm joined by Kuro, of course, behind the scenes, handling the production, and the amazing people in the chat as well. Welcome, one and all, to our weekly catch-up show, where we go through all things StarCraft. Again, there's been a lot going on, as always, in regards to StarCraft, and we may as well jump right on in. First things first is something that caught me off guard. I was not entirely aware as to how many interviews there were going to be, as to when they were going to be. I know that Zombrigub did go on vacation for a bit, went to Japan, went to Korea, came back, time has passed, EWC occurred. I double checking, when was the last time a GLHF interview was posted? Before this one, 3 months ago. It's been 3 months. So I think we all just assumed they were all done. I think it was done, it was complete, but apparently not. So again, there have been other things occurring, and I'm sure there's been delays in some of the production, but thankfully we are back. Again, I'm not entirely certain as to how many more there are going to be, but this is another interview conducted at Home Story Cup. You can tell due to the scenario, due to the couches that they're on. Seats are on, all branded Home Story Cup, and there was a lovely interview with MaNa. It was great to hear from MaNa once again. Just to kind of go over it for those that maybe have forgotten or maybe hearing it for the first time, Zombrigub did create an initiative quite some time ago, did crowdfund for a documentary regarding StarCraft, regarding StarCraft Brood War, its rise, and is stated to be GLHF StarCraft Esports Legacy. That is going to be the eventual documentary, but did actually fly to Korea, did fly to Europe, did go to Home Story Cup to conduct all of these interviews, and has been releasing them on a semi-regular basis. Was on a regular basis, then, as I mentioned, it's been 3 months, and now it looks like back on track. It looks like more interviews are being released, and now we have one featuring MaNa. It was quite a lengthy interview. A lot was discussed. They went through the history of MaNa. They began with MaNa's Brood War, with how he got into gaming, got into StarCraft, got into Brood War, and got into the Brood War competitive scene. It was really cool to hear. Once again, it's one of those things where I feel like we hear less about this era of StarCraft, and there's a lot about, this time that I feel like we're a little bit not privy to, or at least I'm not privy to. So it's great to hear from MaNa's experiences, from his journey, from his memories, from his rise to prominence. He was talking about how he was one of the best players in Poland in Brood War. Not the best, but one of the best, as he was kind of rising through the ranks. He spoke about he was like on a B team for a while, then he grew up and got into the A team eventually. He spoke about how Poland was big in Brood War, where Korea was number 1. In his opinion, China was number 2 and Poland was number 3 in regards to like the hierarchy of like other regions and other countries in Brood War and how many players that dedicated to the esport as well. Spoke about how he would compete in Nation Wars, in Brood War Nation Wars, and represented the team. That was like a big moment for him as well. And yeah, it was just really cool to hear like from this, bygone era of Brood War, of this more foreigner scene. I do wish that they went into it a little bit more in detail. I'm a little bit, I feel like we're a little bit spoiled from the Whitewire interview that was not GLHF related, but the Whitewire interview we got much earlier, months ago at this point, but there was an interview conducted, a written one, which was so in-depth in regards to, his journey in esports and of course everything that happens in Ukraine afterwards as well. I kind of wanted that here. Like I wanted to hear more about, MaNa's upbringing and about his time competing in Brood War and what like training was like. Again, they touched on it a little bit. He spoke about how back in the day in Brood War, there was even an era where there was no ladder, where there was pre-IC Cup, that there was no like ladder, and it was actually difficult to practice and difficult to really improve. And again, I would have appreciated to have heard a little bit more about that kind of era in StarCraft, about how they improved, about what the friend group was like, and what the scene was like as well, in Poland in regards to Brood War. I feel like there's a lot of content to mine there, and it feels like we touched the surface. It feels like it feels like we kind of like touched on it and then kind of moved on instead. A lot of the interview was based more around StarCraft 2, was based around his time in Wings of Liberty, then of course in Heart of the Swarm and Legacy thereafter, speaking about like some of his big standout moments in his career and how it was getting into StarCraft 2 as well. Something that I found really interesting was that he spoke about how when the beta was out for StarCraft 2, he was still competing in Brood War, but he stopped practicing Brood War. Right, he was still competing, but stopped practicing Brood War because it was focusing on the SE2 beta. And he was talking about how, despite not practicing Brood War, he was actually getting better results and improving in his competitions in Brood War because of like him playing SE2, like his speed, his mechanics, but also some strategies as well were also kind of like that he was experimenting thing, also kind of like crossed over as well. He spoke about how like because he was working a lot with War Prisms and War Prism Harass and War Prism Aggression in StarCraft 2, then when he started playing Brood War, then he started doing the same thing with shuttles, and he said how he'd never done that before. Like he'd never like really fixated or focused too much on like shuttle harass and shuttle drop play, but after he started doing it in SE2, they started doing it in Brood War, and he actually got better results, and he was actually improving in Brood War as well, which was definitely interesting to hear. And again, like it's these little tidbits that I'm kind of like looking for here. So it was great to hear once again from MaNa. He was also he was asked about the other top players in Brood War at the time. I think he was asked about like the American players, and he was comparing them. And I think he brought up like Idra, he brought up Artosis, and he said that they were both very similar in the sense that they both got angry very easily. He was talking about the Idra rage and the Artosis rage when they were competing in Brood War. He had some fun stories about how when they were competing, he would often beat Artosis with like some more cheeky builds and tricky strategies, and Artosis would always get upset at him and always get angry. Like it was and things have not changed over time with when it came to Dan. It had not changed at all, But yeah, it was just some fun little stories from that era. He gave kind of like a brief overview about the era of Wings of Liberty as well, the era of Heart of the Swarm. Unfortunately, there were certain things that he couldn't quite remember. He was like, it's been so long, like I can't recall like exact details upon certain things. So he heard more generalities. He actually briefly spoke on the infamous MaNa versus Firecake match, which was the infamous like longest game in StarCraft 2, like over 3 hours, over 3 hour long game. He spoke about how apparently at the time his brother was visiting him, and his brother, like an hour in, came into the room and was laughing at him that he was still playing that same game, and then he left the room. He came back like 2 hours later, and MaNa was still in the same game, and his brother was just giving him crap. Was just laughing at the fact that he's still in the same game like for 3 hours. And MaNa, he was talking about how after he lost, of course, MaNa, he lost that game. He ended up losing that game, losing that series. It was an important one as well. It was during WCS Challenger at the time. He spoke about how after the series ended, he was just so exhausted. He was so exhausted and so frustrated, and he was not he was not in a good mindset. And that wasn't the end of the Challenger event, by the way. Like he then got knocked down to the lower bracket where he had to play another series, and he played against a player that he's favored against. But because like he was so drained and so exhausted and so just mentally like just out of it after that Firecake series, he ended up losing like 2-0 against a player that he would have been favored against, but like he was just done. there was just nothing left. There was nothing left for MaNa. He was out of MaNa. Oh no. So yeah, it was interesting to hear these insights from events in StarCraft that we otherwise didn't know about. He spoke about some of his more memorable moments, and of course he had to bring up the WCS event that was in Poland. I think it was in Poland, in Krakow. Speaking about the moment when it was relatively recently. I think it was in 2015. 2015-ish era of StarCraft, when the event was in Poland, and he went out, and the people from the crowd like came on stage after he won the series and lifted him up in the air.
Fun fact, I can confirm that this is exactly what happens. It was like September-ish of 2015, because I was there actually in the audience, and indeed the entire crowd, like all the like networks people and stuff, they're extremely hyped people, and they just ran to stage. Like the security was like a little bit confused not entirely sure what to do with that because it seemed, like everybody was happy with it. But yeah, it was a very spontaneous moment, to put it that way.
Yeah, it was fun to hear from MaNa because he was like, the one thing I was thinking when they lifted me up was I was scared my phone was going to fall out of my pocket.
Yes.
he was terrified, but they lifted him up and it was, yeah. I mean, again, I was bringing up when talking about MaNa. I mean, not that scene. If you recall, I always bring up the moment where he won his series and then his girlfriend was on stage and they're hugging and the camera panned around them. Like that was like for me, that was like the moment. But same event, right? Same event regardless.
Yes. It was also,
same tournament.
It was also the same event when they first showed the trailer for Legacy of the Void. Because they also mentioned that in this interview. And I can confirm that was a really impressive showing. When you were sitting there in the audience and watching the trailer for the next expansion, I had literal chills, not gonna lie. I will remember that moment forever.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting to hear that that even though like there were some other maybe bigger events where he had performed better results wise or even won, like that was like a big like momentous moment for him, and 100% like that's always burned into my mind as one of the big events from not just for MaNa but in general in the history of StarCraft. It was amazing to see. And it was a nice trip down memory lane. He spoke about his series against his finals against Serral, where he was also in a better position. He was winning 2-1, and then things kind of momentum swung away from him, and so he felt some regrets there. He had some thoughts about Serral, about Clem and their rise to kind of strengthen StarCraft in the European scene as well. It was just a nice kind of like trip down memory lane sort of thing. And again, it was very general, very broad in terms of what they covered, all the eras of StarCraft, a little bit in each place. I do recommend checking out the interview itself, as again, they did discuss so much. Other things that they spoke about were, I mean, they kind of reminisced over old maps and Wings, and he spoke about how like he doesn't envy them at all, like like the old maps. They were not there was kind of less standardization going on, and they weren't the most balanced of maps either. And kind of how good we have it now in certain aspects, of course, not in others. And it was great to hear from MaNa once again. As I mentioned before, like he's been around for a very long time. He's one of those players that's still active. That's maybe the oldest active player, one of the oldest active players out there, in the sense that length of time that he's been engrossed in the scene. He's been there since the beginning, and I feel like there's just a lot to ask him about, a lot to gather as well. So as it is with a lot of these GLHF interviews, I kind of wish that we had a little bit more. That's my only added tidbit to it. But regardless, it was great to hear from MaNa nonetheless, and I look forward to the eventual conclusion of the GLHF like kind of documentary series and what it all comes into as well. I know that a lot of it's going to be a lot of work. And Zombergub has been very vocal about it, about looking for an editor, and because right now these are just kind of like raw interviews that are being released. This is not the documentary at all. Like everything still has to be edited together into a final piece, and a story and a narrative has to be told through that as well. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of hard work, a lot of writing is going to be involved in regards to constructing said narrative, constructing said script. It's going to be quite a challenge, but best of luck. Best of luck to Zombie Girl. Share my pappy, share my. Of course. There were some interesting things that he spoke about, how when he was getting into StarCraft 2, he spoke about how like he didn't really look up to anyone. Like he wanted to be like the pioneer, and he wanted to like be the one that people would look up to as well. Like it was really cool to hear a lot of the insights from MaNa. Always. Very quickly before we wrap up on this, the one thing that stuck with me was he had one regret in his career of StarCraft, is that he never qualified for IM Katowice. Despite it being a big event and being in Poland, it's something that he never was able to compete in, and never able to take part in, and that's one of his regrets. And I definitely do feel for him. At least he was able to compete in Krakow. True, he was able to. But unfortunately not able to compete in Katowice, especially with IM Katowice moving on from IM Katowice to IM Krakow. Like it is a bit of a shame that never occurred. But again, there's always a chance that more events occur, and we all know that like the esport event, I say esport events, we all know that like there's more tournaments that are occurring in Poland thanks to Geralt, thanks to those working behind the scenes at House as well, or there's making events at Howls. So I'm sure I hope at least there's going to be more opportunities for MaNa to kind of be in front of the Polish crowd and be in front of everyone. So best of luck. Best of luck to MaNa as his career continues, of course. And actually, this is also one of the things where, I mean, this interview was conducted a couple of months ago, where it would have been nice to have heard from MaNa about his recent rise, right? Like, we speak about it all the time nowadays, how MaNa, unironically, he's one of the best Protoss players in Europe, and he has gotten so much better in recent times. A lot of that is because of his stint in Stormgate. We spoke about how he was very, very much so ingrained in Stormgate when, like, the alpha was out and when a lot of tournaments were running. This was like a year and a half ago at this point, and he was streaming, he was making a lot of content, and as Stormgate died down, that's when he like dove headfirst into StarCraft 2, and he started getting better and better results, like beating players like Clem, beating players like MaxPax. Like, it's insane, like the results we've been getting from MaNa over the past year, over the past 12 months. It would have been nice to have heard about that, heard from that as well, but maybe next time. But regardless, again, I do recommend checking out the video on MaNa from the GLHF series, and that leads us into our next bit of news. This one a little bit more unfortunate. There was a bit of, I don't know if I want to say controversy, but it was a little bit shaky in regards to this announcement, because it was announced and it was retracted, then announced again, then retracted. Like, it was a little bit messy. It was a little bit messy behind the scenes. But regardless, Hero has confirmed that he has left Twisted Minds. Originally, he actually posted this, and then the tweet was removed because it sounds like Hero had jumped the gun, and Hero maybe assumed that they weren't going to re-sign him, but it looks like maybe they were still like in negotiations regarding things, or that the things were still like not necessarily solid or set in stone. But now we have confirmation. Hero has left Twisted Minds, and he is, of course, still looking for a team. And a bit of a teaser to that, which would be kind of crazy, and I don't know how I feel about it as much. But apparently, the owner of Streamer Zone did respond to that tweet with some eyes. He's looking. he's looking at it back. Yeah. Streamer Zone, we have spoken about this before, how they've been very ambitious in regards to the size of their team. They've signed a lot of players already, and they're also going to be running a tournament in the near future as well. They've announced, it's like a teaser announcement in regards to running more events in StarCraft 2. This is great and all. Picking up a player like Hero, that's also not very cheap. I'm always a little bit concerned. I'm always a little bit tentative about, a team coming in like this and spending too much money too quickly. So I'm a little bit concerned in regards to that. Regardless, it is exciting, and all power to Streamers. And if they do pick up Hero, I just hope they're a little bit tempered, just because there's just a lot coming, a lot on the horizon, and I hope they're able to facilitate for all of that, of course. So we'll see if Hero does get picked up by Streamer Zone. We'll see if that does happen. Regardless, I wish the best to Hero in regards to looking for a new team, for sure. Do wish him the best, as he is now a free agent. That leads us into the RSL, the Revival StarCraft League. Of course, the qualifiers did already conclude. We covered that a couple of weeks ago. We actually casted them on our channel, of course, and we have a lot of updates. Now, last week, I think we confirmed the final players just because the fan vote, right? Last week, we confirmed the fan vote, who would be added to the event itself. Now we have more votes coming in. I say fan vote, really it's the Patreon vote. The Patreon votes have come in regards to the players and in regards to the map pool as well. So we do have a custom map pool for the tournament. We do have Leylines, Magnatha, Persephone, Killswitch, Ultralove, Tokamak, Cenotaph, Botanical, and Evil Heart as well. I'm a little bit torn. The reason why I'm a little bit torn here, this was the big criticism that they had last season as well, and I was hoping that they would take note of it. They haven't really. So it's really cool that they've added some new maps. Some of them are maps that we are very familiar with, like Killswitch. Killswitch was a TLMC 20 map, and we actually played a lot of tournaments on Killswitch as well. The other three, I believe, are going to be TLMC 21 maps that have yet to be featured and yet to be showcased. So really cool to see them added as well. Now, the criticism that was levied to RSL last season was that the problem with adding these maps is that what they removed were the least played maps. They removed the least played maps, and they replaced the least played maps with new maps, which means they'll still be the least played maps. the problem here is that it's cool that they're switching of the map pool, but because of how they're switching of the map pool, these maps, there's a lower chance that they're actually going to be used, as opposed to if they got rid of ley lines, if they got rid of Persephone, if they got rid of Ultra Love, if they got rid of some of the more standard, normal, common maps. Instead, then there's, you know, a little bit more fun there, because then there's a higher chance of some of these new maps actually being played. Otherwise, it feels like this is almost like otherwise it feels like it doesn't really matter. It's like, hey, cool, they're going to be featuring these new maps, but the players aren't going to play on them if you're going to give them quote unquote more comfortable options. So that is the one thing here. In longer series, this is going to come into play, but I feel like only longer series. So for best of threes, I don't see players playing on either Heart Botanical or Center Path, unfortunately, or Center Tath, I should say. So I champion them adding some new maps to the map pool. Yes, I disagree with how it's done. I understand that they also want to accommodate the players, right? Like, I'm sure the players, if you got rid of ley lines, Persephone, and Ultra Love, I'm sure the players would be pretty upset, or maybe not. You know, maybe we're like overcorrecting, and maybe we're like babying the players. But the feeling there would be that they would be unhappy with the standard maps being removed. On the other hand, like, if you leave them, that's all they're going to play on. So so it's personally, I'm not too fond of how this has been done, but regardless, I just saw that Patches just actually said something similar. He says a little sad to see Ultra Love and Ley Lines still in, despite the fact that Ultra Love and Ley Lines, they've been around for 2 seasons now. This is their 2nd season that Ley Lines and Ultra Love have been around. Get rid of them. get him out of here, Pappy. Get him out of here. So that is a little bit unfortunate. Regardless, I'm sure the event is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope that we get to see some of the newer maps. And when I say newer maps, I don't mean Kill Switch. Like, Kill Switch also feels like a comfortable map just because players have experience on that. I want to see some of the other TLMC maps, the newer ones. Whether or not we do in shorter series, I doubt we will, but I hope we do. The other big announcement in regards to RSL is we have a return of a big sponsor or a partner, Archon Studio. Now, once again, in regards to a bit of criticism here in regards to RSL, for the first season of RSL, we also had this partnership, and I was hoping that they would make content around this, right? For those that are curious, Archon Studio, they're making a StarCraft tabletop miniatures game, and they're making a lot of miniatures, and there's already a lot of, I think it was already like some examples of that out there. There's already a lot of information of that out there. This is a studio that has already established themselves as having history creating other miniatures games as well, with some mixed success, but with success nonetheless. And I think it would be really cool if they were able to have like a segment on the show which actually showcase these miniatures, or even have some of the players play the miniatures game, right? Like, I think this is a really, really good opportunity to actually do something with this, instead of just having them as a partner, having them as a sponsor. I feel like there's more you can do there, and I hope they take advantage of that. I hope they do something with this partnership. They didn't do so in season 1. I hope they do so here in season 2. Even like in an After Dark episode, have them play it, or mess around with it, or paint the miniatures. Like, do something with it, instead of just having them there. Like, I hope that they're able to be more interactive and more interactive, and just show us more with this partnership, instead of it just being like an added bonus to the prize pool, and benefit the studio and promote the game. Of course, promote the miniatures game. That's the purpose. That's the goal. At least I would hope so. So we'll see if they if they do anything with said partnership, and how they decide to promote the miniatures game. Again, I do feel like there are really nice ways, really cool ways to promote the miniatures game. Hope they do actually make use of that. Speaking of RSL After Dark, they did actually host an After Dark show with Ziggy and Gemini of the group drawings. So earlier we already had confirmation of the players that were taking part in the event. Now we have the groups drawn, and the groups confirmed as well. All done live. All done and all released in VOD format on the YouTube channel here in RSL After Dark episode 4. So quickly going through the groups here, we have Group A. We have a group of TVP, a group of Terra vs Protoss. We have nothing but Koreans here as well. We have Cure, Bunny, Creator, and Zhao. We have a pretty interesting lineup here. We have not seen much from Bunny as of late. Unfortunately, he has been less active in regards to online tournaments and online results. So Bunny is a little bit more of a dark horse coming into this, but he was also a dark horse at the start of the year as well, because he was also one of the players that wasn't active. Like, there are some grinders out there, like Cure, like Byun, like Hero, like Classic, that play in everything, in all these online tournaments and all these invitationals. They're playing in everything they can. There are other players where it feels like they're a little bit more part-time. Bunny is one of them, where he doesn't necessarily play in like every, or maybe like he plays in once a month in like a Woody TV Monday, or once a month in like a Pigastar Cup, or once a month in or once a year in STC, or like, he's very you very rarely see him. I think partly because like he's dedicating a little bit less time focusing on other things, but because that it's a little bit harder to gauge his skill. I'm a big Bunny fan. I want to see more of him. I wish him the best, but because we've seen less of him, I do feel like he's a little bit more rough around the edges, and I'd lean towards Cure and Creator making it through. I say Cure and Creator because Creator is also one of those grinders. Zhao is also not as extreme as Bunny, but he's like maybe in between like a Bunny and a Creator. Zhao, he also doesn't play in too much. Plays in a little bit. He's more active than Bunny, but again, he's not necessarily as intent on playing in everything that he can. Like a Cure, like a Creator, like a Byun, for example. So best and wish him the best, of course. I mean, I would say it's hard to call between like between Creator and Zhao. I think Cure should make it through. Creator and Zhao, it's a little bit more harder to call. And again, I'm always wishing the best to Bunny. Meanwhile, Group B. Scrolling on over here to Group B, we do have a a group of ZVP, Rainer, Estrella, SOS, and Classic. Oh my god, that's Jesus. This is when Rainer he decides to off race his Protoss and play nothing but PvP. That'll be amazing. We know he has it in him. But interesting lineup here. It is great to see some foreigner representation for sure. Rainer, he should be coming in as one of the favorites to make it out of the group. I say one of the favorites to make it out. I guess similarly to Bunny, Rainer also doesn't compete in too much, but the difference is that Rainer, what has he been doing? He's been playing a little League. If you check out Twitch recently, I think it was like yesterday even. Yesterday we were gonna raid. I was checking who was live. I was like, oh, Rainer's live. I check. He's like, oh, he's in the Rift. It's been in the Rift for quite some time. So Rainer has been, off by his own playing League of Legends. He's been playing less StarCraft, so it's hard to say the form that he's currently in coming into the off season. Classic is in form. Like Classic, he's one of those grinders. Like Classic, he plays in everything. He plays in everything he can. He's also playing a lot in StarCraft Evolution as well. Classic is still in form even post EWC, so Classic is coming in as a heavy favorite. The other players have been less active, so it's harder to kind of judge and harder to rate them amongst themselves. Between Rainer, Estrella, SOS, I still do give it to Rainer, just because when he is in form, like he is favored there, even if he's a little bit rusty, like he's still favored to make it through. Estrella, I feel like this is an unfortunate group. In current meta, I feel like Estrella's best matchup is PVT. Like he has had some really strong results in Protoss versus Terran matchups. I would maybe even favor Estrella against like Gumiho, against Cure, against Bunny, against these other big Korean Terrans. Unfortunately, there's no Korean Terran here for Estrella. He has to rely on his PvP and PvZ. This is where I feel like he's going to be a little bit less in his comfort zone, a little bit weaker here. I wish him the best. I want Estrella to do well, but it's going to be a tough group. It's going to be a tough group here. So I wish them all the best. Heading on over to Group C, we do have Gumiho, Cham, Trigger, and Byun. Cham has been getting some crazy results as of late in OC, the playoffs, the mid-season playoffs, and also in the previous season of RSL. I think Cham, he was winning all these crazy ZVZs. I want to say he took some maps off of Serral. Hold on, let me just double check that. Season 1 Cham, let's have a look here. So Cham, he 2-1 Solar, he 2-0'd Shin. And Cham, he also, in the group stage, he popped off in ZVZ. That is where he surprised everyone, beating Shin and Solar. It was crazy. It was crazy. Here, where are the Zergs? I mean, they're not in the tournament period. We have one Zerg with Rainer in Group B, and we have Shin in Group D. Unfortunately, this season in RSL, there are less Zerg players, so Cham, he cannot rely on his ZVZ as heavily as he did previously. He popped off last season, it was impressive. Unfortunately, it was reliant on a matchup that isn't here. So this is where Cham is going to be looking a little bit weaker. Bjorn, he is very in form. I have to be favoring Bjorn here, and I lean towards Bjorn and Trigger. I'm a big Gumiho fan. I love Gumiho, but currently Trigger has been in better form, Bjorn has been in better form, and Gumiho has been struggling. I think we spoke about this a couple of days ago, or maybe even last week, but Gumiho, he's been having some really rough, specifically TVP results over the past couple of months, actually. It's been very unfortunate. It's been very, very unfortunate here for Gumiho. Quickly double checking here. So in the Water TV Championship, Gumiho, he lost to Hero, he lost to MaNa, he lost to Nightmare, he lost to Jumi, he lost to SOS, he lost to Zaun, he beat Dave Testa, I suppose. He lost to Nightmare again during the Water TV Summer Championship qualifiers. He lost to Showtime. Like, again, he lost to Australia in Picastar Cup. That was last month. Like, again, like, Gumiho has been having a really, really hard time, specifically in TVP, where others have been succeeding. Gumiho has been struggling. I will say partly just because of his playstyle. Gumiho is a very unique player, of course. He's very aggressive. He can be very cheesy at times, but at the same time, he's less consistent. And yeah, he has just been struggling more than players like Bjorn, players like Cure, for example. So I do favor Trigger over Gumiho coming into Group C, but I wish him the best of luck, of course. Wish him the best. Coming into Group D, we do have the final group here. We have Maru, Shin, MaNa, and MaxPax. This is going to be an interesting one. Hey, we were just praising MaNa earlier, if you recall. Just praising him for having some crazy results as of late. MaxPax has been looking in form. MaxPax has been working specifically on his PvP. His PvP is looking really good. This is going to be an interesting group here. I think Maru didn't play last season, right? Double checking. Yeah, Maru, he did not play last season. So Maru playing in this season of RSL is, one, really exciting because Maru playing in an online tournament is rare. It's very rare to see Maru in these online tournaments. It happens every now and then, but again, only every now and then. So it's cool to see him again. I've been honest about this. Maru has not been impressing me this year. Not even at DreamHack Dallas. Like DreamHack Dallas, he was playing very... What's the word to use here? He was playing very, not orthodox, predictable. That's it. He's been very predictable. He's been very predictable this year. We said so during DreamHack Dallas. We said so during GSL and during EWC as well, during our coverage of Maru at EWC. That's been my biggest concern about Maru's play, specifically in 2025, post military service, or the military service announcement that was back like in February, March of this year. So in this group, I can see him struggling a little bit. It's hard to call. Like, I can see MaxPax, MaNa, and Shin overcoming him. It depends. When I say predictable, Maru, he's been going for a lot of two-base all-ins against Protoss. So I feel like he's probably going to two-base all-in every game against MaNa and MaxPax, I'll be honest there. Like, he does it a lot. Against Shin, likewise, Maru has been doing a lot of 8-Raxes. He's doing a lot of 8-Raxes. That's actually how Maru got eliminated from GSL, is that Solar, we covered it on the channel, if you remember. Solar, he went for 2 blind counters. It was a game, I think it was on Tokamak, where he blind countered Maru's 8-Rax. It was really cool. It was really impressive, but Solar, he shut him down. Likewise, I think game 1, Maru tried to play mech. Or he did play mech, and Solar was able to roach all in him as Maru was getting into mech. So Maru, he tried to mech, and then he tried to 8-Rax. Both times he did lose to Solar. Again, that was in GSL. Now, that is more of a preparation-based format, but I say that, that's also applicable here, where these players do have a week to prepare for their opponents. So I'm curious to see how Shin performs. I'm really curious to see how Shin handles Maru's mech, and how Shin handles Maru's 8-Rax as well. In my mind, that's probably what's going to happen, but we'll find out. We'll see if that's what Maru does, or if he does broaden things a little bit more coming into the off-season. I want to believe he will. I want to believe he will, for sure. But best of luck. So because I feel like Group D has the most variance, I'll be honest. I can see anything happening in Group D. Like Maru, Shin, MaNa, MaxPax. Group D, in my mind, might be the group of death as well. It might be. Just because for the other groups, I feel like there's more of a clearer, like, weaker link in Group B, in Group C, and in Group A as well. Like, I feel like there's... maybe Group A is also very close. Maybe Group A is also very close. But for Group D, I feel like... Yeah, there could be any kind of mixture of players making it out of the group in top 2 places. So best of luck. Best of luck to all the players. Again, this is going to be in another week's time. Another week's time is going to be RSL. When it comes to our coverage, we'll have to double check, of course, but I believe they are open to co-streaming. We don't really have plans to co-stream the group stage, but we do have plans to co-stream the playoff bracket. So once we get to the playoffs, we will be co-streaming. We decided not to co-stream last season, but this season, now we have a little bit more free time. Now we're going to be most likely stepping in and co-streaming. That's going to be the plan here on the CranKy Ducklings. Meanwhile, our next big event that is around the corner here is going to be the Stellarfest. Stellarfest teaser trailer was released. Interesting teaser trailer. It's a bunch of stock footage of Canada, a city in Canada, of Ottawa even. And there is a big event announced, a StarCraft 2 event announced here for Ottawa. How it turns out, qualifiers, I don't know if there are many details regarding this yet, but Ursa TV is stepping in to organize an offline LAN event. Bold move here, Ursa, bold move. For those that are curious, Ursa TV, he already has some experience when it comes to organizing tournaments. If you remember, he originally partnered with Stegosaurus. With Stegosaurus, if you remember, it was the Ursasaurus Cup. Before Pig came in as the main sponsor, and we had the Pigasaur Cup. Before that, it was the Ursasaurus Cup, which was Ursa TV and Stegosaurus partnered, and Ursa was the main sponsor. He sponsored, was it like 5 weeklies? I want to say it was like 5 weeklies or so, and then he stepped away as a sponsor, and then it was just the Stegosaurus Cup, and then for a couple of weeks, and then Pig eventually stepped in as a main sponsor. I think Stegosaurus was looking for sponsors, was looking for people to boost the prize pool, provide money for the prize pool, and eventually Pig stepped in as that main sponsor. I think there are some people that don't know that, and they assume like Pig organized the event, or he admins the event, or he runs the event. That's not the case. Pig is a sponsor, and Pig, he was not always a sponsor. Before that, it was the Stegosaurus Cup, and before that, it was the Ursasaurus Cup as well. So he's already, so I should say, the person organizing this event, he's already had some experience with that when it comes to running tournaments. He helped fund the Ursasaurus Cup, but also he did I think it was the Ursa Brawl, where he partnered with Steadfast. I think Steadfast was the main caster, and Ursa, he funded a bunch of show matches. Some like fun, like 2v2, 3v3 sort of stuff, some FFAs, I think, as well. But I want to say the Ursa Brawl is the other kind of big thing that he worked on. And if you want to know a little bit more about Ursa TV, he was actually interviewed. He was interviewed by Zombergum. I think there's a GLHF interview with Ursa TV as he was at Home Story Cup. I think it's one of the Home Story Cup interviews. And I don't think Zombergub actually knew who Ursa was at the time. If you remember, that's what I brought up to Yaku, and that was one of our criticisms, was it looked like Zombergub was interviewing Ursa more like a fan, and didn't realize that Ursa already like had dipped his toes into organizing tournaments and was kind of like a bigger force in the StarCraft scene. I don't think Zombergub was actually aware of that. So the questions were not kind of regarding that at all. Like the questions that were a little bit more general in regards to talking to a fan sort of thing. And we found out that he was like a big fan of Shopify, for example. But yeah, with that, it's really cool to see that he's running a tournament. Wish him the best. It is not easy to run a big offline event, and I hope it goes well. I hope he's able to. I think we spoke about this last week in regards to how to run a tournament, and we were levying a little bit of criticism to Ozcraft about how important it is to work with the scene and the talent in your area. I hope that Ursa does something like that, where he's able to reach out to the content creators and to the other personalities in the North American region to have them help work together and promote the event and work at the event and spread news and spread hype. I do think that's quite important to kind of to make use of that, to make use of the already established kind of like people in the area, something that Ozcraft kind of like failed to do. Likewise, I spoke about Cheesedelphia, how it's important, I feel like, for them to do the same thing. I think Cheesedelphia did a better job recently because they had Dave Testa, they have Tempo, like they did communicate with some of the other NA talent, but I think it is important to work with as much of that as you can to kind of spread the word, to let people know that, hey, there's an offline event happening in Canada, and to have people show up and have people be a part of that, fans, viewers, other creators as well. Like, who's in Canada? Who comes to mind? Is Sal Canadian or is he American? I don't even know. I don't.
He's Canadian, yes. He did just move.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not entirely sure where though.
Yeah. So like in my mind, I'd be like, Upper Tree, Sal, reach out to Sal. You know, I think it'd be important if he was involved in some way to help promote the event. Steadfast, Truce. I think Orsay is working with Steadfast, by the way. I think they already have that connection from earlier. But they're probably going to be working for this as well. But Steadfast, he comes to mind when it comes to Canadian talent. I know that No Regret, he's actually still active, like a little bit behind the scenes. Like you see him like lurking about every now and then when it comes to like Twitch chats and Twitch channels. Potentially No Regrets and Jake. I believe he's back in Canada, no longer in Korea. And I'm sure there are others as well that like are kind of like glossing over my mind. Jason, is Jason Canadian as well? Hold on. But yeah, I think it's important to reach out to said local talent and work together. So I hope that initiative is done in some way, and wish us the best. Wishing the best with the Stellarfest. Oh, and that leads us to our last big piece of news as well. It's very unfortunate. It's something that has been happening for quite some time. Actually, we already knew about this, but it was being used in a different way. Essentially, mass reporting. There are some individuals that have been abusing the report function in recent months. Infamously, Cham. Cham, he was mass reported and he was silenced, and he had a really hard time competing in tournaments because of that fact. And he was mass reported because apparently he was practicing and playing 2v2s, and the people that he beat got really upset. And then they did mass reporting and they silenced Cham. I want to say they silenced and targeted other pro players as well. And that's something that just happened. And the players just had to wait it out or make new accounts and compete on different accounts instead to kind of wait that out.
It was worse than that. Not only Cham got muted, he got later suspended right after he played the tournament. So he just couldn't even play the game anymore.
Yeah. So that I think Cham is probably the biggest example of a player being targeted with mass reporting. But now this has been happening to modders and map makers. And what this does is when a modder/map maker is targeted like this, is mass reported, when they get silenced/suspended, then their work, their map or mod that they made in the arcade is removed. So because they get mass reported, then their work gets removed, and then bam, that you can't do anything about it. You can't make use of it. This was done to a lot of map makers, and because of that, if you remember, it was a couple of days ago during the Wardy TV Monday. If you remember, during that cast, we were like, oh, all the maps are gone. We actually couldn't host games on Tokamak, on Maganatha. We couldn't host games on Leylines, on Ultra. We could not host games, and we couldn't run our tournament. We couldn't run. Well, I said we couldn't run a tournament. We couldn't host those games. They were removed. They were removed from the NA server. They were still on Europe. They were still on Korea. It seems that those the maps and the mods in those regions are unaffected because the mass reporting is happening on NA, not on those regions. That's the only reason why they're unaffected. But because that, we had to do a workaround. I say workaround. We actually had to run the Wardy TV Monday this week on the TLMC versions of the maps, which are older versions. So there were some slight differences and slight changes, which is less than ideal. But that's the only option that we had, was to just host the maps on like an older version of the map instead of the latter edition version. Not just that, but because these LE versions of the map were removed, the ladder was broken. The ladder was broken, and a lot of people were trying to, and they actually couldn't ladder because the map was removed from the game. So you just could not ladder on NA. And again, that was this week.
Another important problem with the situation was that because publishing has been disabled and only like select accounts even had access to publishing, if the map was taken down and like the author was either inactive or didn't have access, they couldn't even upload it, even if that was, possible. Like they couldn't upload the map back.
Yeah. So like new accounts had to be made, or like maps had to be given to other parties to like upload on their behalf. So there had to be a bunch of workarounds. This also did affect StarCraft Evolution. So there were mass reports made to those working on SE Evo. So StarCraft Evolution was removed from the arcade. A bunch of the submitted TLMC maps were removed from the arcade, removed from the game. There's just been a lot of targeted mass reports on, again, map makers, modders, players as well. It's just a function that is being abused. And yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's also been, as I mentioned, it's also been affecting tournaments. It's been affecting tournaments. It's affecting people, modders, map makers. I'm sure it's going to be affecting TLMC as well, right? The Team Liquid map contest is also around the corner. It's important that we have access to those maps so we can judge them, so we can see them, so we can make use of them as well. And yeah, it's been something that's been plaguing the scene for a couple of months, but it's escalated to the point where now it's affecting more than just individual players. It's affecting a greater portion of the community, a greater portion of the scene as well. In regards to
as a note, it has been reported that Blizzard is slowly restoring access to the maps and the users. But the problem of the situation is that like the takedowns are outpacing the restoring essentially. So if it continues, it may be like a big problem.
Yes, I was just about to get into that. So for those who are curious, Blizzard is aware. Blizzard is aware of the issue. These reports have been made to them, and as Kira just mentioned, they have been working on restoring these maps, on adding them back in. But it looks like currently what Blizzard is working on is more of a band-aid solution, in the sense that they're restoring them, yes, but they're not able to like fix the issue of the match reporting, at least not yet. We're assuming that that's what they're working on. I would think we would all hope that is the case, but right now, like it is at least something that Blizzard is aware of, that Blizzard is trying to work on. Whether they can is I mean, yet to be determined. Like, this is still like an ongoing issue. We're still getting ongoing reports as to what's happening, but this is something that's kind of plaguing the SC2 arcade on NA. So if you're out there, if you happen to be playing on the arcade, and if you're like, hey, why is, like, I don't know, Direct Strike down, or SEVO's down, or Mono Battles is down, and I can't play on this? This would be the reason why, just because of this kind of these people that are being mass reported. I should say these individuals that are mass reporting, like targeted people. So yeah, it's. With that, there's kind of no other update yet. Again, we'll let you know most likely in the coming weeks. I'm sure we'll get an update eventually, at least I would hope so, just because recently we've been speaking a lot about the future of StarCraft, and what that's going to look like, and what patching the game is going to look like as well. We spoke about how in the near future, if there's a world where Blizzard doesn't patch the game, where they don't step in and they don't, specifically I'm referring to balance patches, well, a workaround and a way that we can work moving forward here as a community is that we all can agree on our own balance patch mod. It's something that we've done before. It's something that we can do it again. We've done that with the PTR, to have these PTR versions of the game in the base game, to actually test them, to actually use them to compete and run tournaments on them. That can be done with modding as well. That can be done with future balance patches, right? If Blizzard doesn't patch the game, then the community can patch the game instead. But that's not going to be possible if these mods are being mass reported, if these creators are being mass reported, and if we can't actually make use of the mod. So this actually is pretty important. Like this is an issue that is going to affect the future of StarCraft moving forward. If our band-aid solution, if our current workaround to balancing the game was to create our own patches, create our own mods, well, if mods are no longer safe and secure, then what's going to happen. So it's a rough kind of situation to be in, and I hope that this will be resolved soon, but only time will tell. Time will tell, and yeah, my heart goes out to all those that are being affected, especially with TLMC around the corner, right? Like, right now is not the time where map makers want their maps to be taken down, when they're trying to submit it, when they're trying to refine it, when they're trying to work on these maps to make some money, but also to benefit the scene in general. Is the worst time for this to be occurring, essentially. Also, not just that, but also StarCraft Evolution as well, right? They're in the middle of the StarCraft Evolution Championship. They're in the middle of, like, this big event for their mod. If their mod goes down, and it has been taken down and put back up, and taken down and put back up, like, this is going to impact their tournament that they're trying to run. Not just their tournament, but also their ability to just run events in general, because they want to, they want to monitor it, they want to balance it, they want to update it. Like, they're actively working on this mod. Now a mod that's no longer safe, that's potentially compromised, right? So a really rough position for a lot of modders and map makers to be in. And yeah, it's something that's ongoing, and we'll give you guys some updates when they are available in the coming weeks. Hopefully not too long. Hopefully not too long. With that, we are now wrapping up our news. With that is all the news for the week. Up next, we are going to be going through tournament results. We've had all our weekly tournaments. We've had the Water TV Summer Championship. We have some other modded events as well. We are going to be going on a short break, and when we come back, we will be back with you with the tournament results. We'll see you soon. See you soon after the break. welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the PondCast. PondCast episode 60. We just wrapped up with this week's news, and now we're here with tournament results. We're here to catch up on all the events that occurred over the past week. Let's go. As always, there are plenty of tournaments, and we will begin with our modded tournaments. Of course, the StarCraft Evolution Championship has been ongoing. We went over the round of 28 last week, and the round of 16 did occur last weekend, but to avoid some spoilers, because we are in the middle of casting that, we'll be going over the SC EVO results next week. Next week, we'll be going over those results, so do not worry. We'll be covering them then. For now, though, we're going to be jumping into something different, jumping into the Greenerts Mod Jam 5K edition, not the first event of its kind. I mean, it is the first event when it comes to MMR restricted tournaments. Previously, it was open to all. Shout out to Greenerts. Greenerts is a Canadian player, a Canadian Zerg player. He often does off race, and I think he's Terran main, by the way. But Greenerts, he did create his own mod, his own balance mod specifically. There's a lot of changes, a lot has been adjusted in regards to his mod. Likewise, Patches has done something similar as well. And they have been testing those changes and testing their mods with these tournaments. This one was restricted to those that are 5K and below. One of the reasons why both Greenert and Patches have started to do this is because some of the pro players out there don't really make use of the mod and don't really make use of the changes. Lower tiered players are more willing to be more exploratory, more willing to try out different things, and more willing to actually take advantage of some of the changes in the mod itself. So they have been leaning more towards restricting the MMR on these tournaments. Not just that, we even have a unique map pool as well. Very unique. Jesus. Meanwhile, shout out to Patches. Patches, he does actually win the event. He goes down to Greenerts in the upper bracket finals, but does win the event 3-2 in the grand finals. So Patches comes out in first place, Greenert in second, Bonyo in third, and likewise, actually, all top six players did get paid out, so not bad. Got to feature players like Karoku alongside Bonyo as well. Great to see, and Kasparos, players that we are familiar with. Here. So congratulations to Patches, and I hope they had a lot of fun. I hope they were able to get what they wanted out of the mod. I know that over time, both Greenert and Patches are adjusting their mod. They're taking feedback. They're looking at what changes work, what changes don't work, what they like, what they don't like, kind of refining their ideas and potentially even bringing these ideas forward to the greater community. So GG, well played. Love the initiative, and congratulations to Patches. Congratulations, and I wish them the best moving forward when it comes to their mod and when it comes to their tournaments. Heading on forward from here, we do have the Amateur League Weekly Series. Amateur League Weekly Tournament number 136. This is a weekly tournament that is restricted by MMR, and there are multiple tournaments for different MMR ranges. Up first, we have the Initiate Tournament. This is for those that are between the ranges or the leagues of Bronze and Platinum. Here we had Bendito. Bendito, he does take down Ragnar 3-1 in the grand finals. Looking down 2-0 previously to that. Took down DJ 2-1 before that as well. So a nice run here by Bendito, does take the win. Shout out to Ragnar for being very consistent when it comes to these tournaments. He's always there, always competing. Has even won some of these weeklies in the past. Here, comes out in second place. Regardless. GG, well played. And congratulations to Bendito. That leads us over into the veteran edition of our tournament. That leads us into the leagues between Diamond 3 and Diamond 2. Diamond 3 and Diamond 2. Here we have some players that we're familiar with. I do see Old Lady again. I see Pretty Fly as well. But a player that I'm unfamiliar with, Split does take down Balimko 2-0, Pretty Fly 2-0, and Balimko 3-0 in the finals. Very impressive performance there by Split. Does claim the win, doesn't drop a single map in the tournaments. Congratulations to Split. That leads us into the Prestige tournament. This is for those between the leagues of Diamond 1 and Masters 2. So we just get higher and higher from here. Double elimination once again. We are missing some key players though. I don't see Dizzy Dwarf and I don't see Blade. Two very active players in this tournament circuit. Instead, we do have Steez. Steez, he takes down Blade of Fire 2-0. Does fall to Dark Blade at 2-0. How many blades are there? What the? Does fall to Dark Blade in the upper bracket finals. But then he does come back in the rematch, and Steez, he takes down Dark Blade at 3-1. Very impressive. Oh, is that a Neo that we know? That's a Protoss Neo. Is there another one? Oh my god. all the Neos, buddy, all the Neos. But congratulations to Steves for claiming another win. Has won some of these in the past, so congratulations, does claim another. Let's give him another. Meanwhile, big shout out to Luis GGG in the chat. Bienvenidos. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session. Hope you had a great time, and welcome. Bienvenidos. Welcome one all to the podcast. Here we're catching up with all the tournaments of the week. We just wrapped up with our news section. That's already been concluded. And here we're jumping into the elite edition of this tournament, Masters 1 to GM. Once again, unfortunately, lack of signups here. As we mentioned in the past, these tournaments don't have a tournament. They don't have a prize pool. They don't have a monetary prize pool. So because of that, a lot of the pro players are less interested in playing in this. Instead, we do have Azura claiming a walkover win, as he was the only player to sign up. Congratulations to Azura for signing up, for showing up, but alas, unfortunately, no other competition in the GM section of that tournament. That leads us into Masters 1 Open. Masters 1 Open number 95. This is our monthly tournament for 4.7k players and below. And here we did have a returning legend, DeWalt. DeWalt, he is a Brood War Protoss player. He actually has tried to sign up for our events in the past, but never had the games for it. He doesn't ladder too much, but he finally was able to actually get some games in, compete in our tournament, and we saw him pop off. He was able to take down the Cos Phoenix 2-1 and take down Troy Galaxy 2-0 and Beast 3-1 as well. DeWalt does claim the win. Again, DeWalt, he's a legend when it comes to Brood War. In SE2, he's still rising through the ranks. He's still getting there. I mean, hey, he wins this event, so true, a big win here for DeWalt. And another second place for Beast. I was checking earlier, Beast, he has become a Kong of MSO. He has gotten so many second places. so many second places for Beast. Aye. But great to see him here at least. He wasn't in the initiate events, in the Amateur League weeklies, but he did compete in this tournament. Still did go down to DeWalt, though, in those finals. Regardless, well played, making it to top 2. GG, well played. That leads us into the Yamato Cup number 2. This is a tournament run by Killer B. We have spoken on Killer B in the past, a Polish caster. And the second edition, this is for players that are within the league or ranges of 5k MMR and below. So another event for amateur players. Here, a player that we're very familiar with, Matrix, who was able to take down Norim 3-1 in the rematch in the grand finals. Very impressive. There are players here that I'm familiar with. I do see Set, I see Baumsbaum, I see Wefuxus as well, Matrix, of course, Roman de Molds, some very Cosset, true, Cosset is there. So again, players that are very much so regulars, or at least have competed in our tournaments in the past, also facing off here as well. Great to see them again. Great to see them again playing and competing in another tournament. Congratulations to Matrix. Congratulations, does claim the win. That leads us over into the Passioncraft Emerging Styles number 30. This is for those that are within the MMR ranges of 5.5k MMR and below. And once again, Inexorable, not his first win, by the way. He's typically one of the top players in this event. Inexorably takes down Rake, takes down Toaster, and takes down Gref. Non-stop TVPs here for Inexorable. Takes down Gref 3-0 in the finals. Congratulations here to Inexorable. Well played. Well played. It does take down Gref 3-0. Gref, of course, a known cannon rusher. It's all he does, and that also hurts him a little bit in regards to how predictable he is as a player. So Inexorable at this point, I'm sure, is very familiar with Gref. That leads us into Sunny Lake Cup number 2. This is a tournament run by Middle VK, and this was a multi-day event, if I recall correctly. It did take some time to actually go through this, to actually get the results. An insane amount of games. We were asked if we wanted to cover this event live, and I did mention that unfortunately at the time we had another event scheduled, so we didn't have the time to cover this. But look at the sheer amount of matches. That is insane. Round robin, best of 2, of course, all games played. So many matches between these 8 players. So round robin, of course, a lot of games were played, and in the end, it was only the round robin group. Bear that in mind. There was no playoff bracket or anything like that. In the end, we had Skillis. He came out on top with 4 wins under his belt. 4 wins alongside a better map score. Actually, let me have a look here. Looks like he did drop some maps here to Strange, drop some maps to Art, drop some maps to Nickract as well. Okay, so again, there was some competition here, but overall, Skillet, he was able to come out on top. Just below him was Strange. No surprises there. Again, we do rate Strange quite highly when it comes to the CIS region. Does come in second place. Wayne coming out in third place with a 7-7 scoreline. Strange came out with 10-4, and they were the top three. Top three did get into the prize money here. Actually, sorry, all players were able to earn something for their troubles, but they were the top three players. Below them, we had Nickrat, then followed by Shameless, Gigi Machine, Milky Cow, and Art. Oh boy. Honestly, it was a pretty hefty lineup here. We're missing players like Young Yakov, for example. Would have been great to have seen some Young Yakov action. But regardless, really impressive here. And honestly, I'm really impressed by Wayne's performance. Wayne has been struggling. He has been struggling as of late. We've been seeing him drop maps and series to Strange, to Nickrack, to Shameless as well. So Wayne he's had a bit of a rocky kind of couple of months. But really good result here for Wayne, getting top 3. Very impressive. GG, well played. Now, shout out to MiddleVK. Again, this is becoming a more regular tournament. The format here is very different to the first edition. It looks like this is more for fun. Like every now and then, Mindle, he'll run this event, he'll have a unique format, and he'll send it. He also, of course, does run the Firegrow Cup, but whenever there's no Firegrow Cup, he's been running the Sunny Lake Cup, which has its own unique format, its own unique setup here. Invitational. It is an invitational. So really cool to see. Of course, we covered the first edition. We didn't cover this one, and Jesus, I'm just daunted by the amount of games that were played. It's crazy. Ay. That leads us into the Copa Picks 2025. Interesting. This is a Brazilian tournament run by Eximius Gaming. Eximius Gaming, of course, I would say they are the biggest Brazilian StarCraft 2 team currently. They have got a lot of players. And speaking of, they do feature some of them here. It looks like this event might have been a little bit restricted. Hold on, just double checking here. Just because of the players that did compete, we are missing a lot of the top regulars when it comes to the Brazilian scene. So I'm curious as to the format here. Here we go. So this is MMR restricted. It probably should be in the format. But this event is restricted to players with an MMR of around 4K. So this is MMR restricted to around, it's not a hard restriction, but like slightly below and slightly above 4K MMR. That's why we're not seeing an Inexorable or Master or Kamikaze or Dorminoko, for example. All the GMs, all the top players are not eligible to compete in this tournament, as this tournament is more MMR restricted. So in the end, we had a Claw. Claw took down Mafra 2-1, took down Krast 3-0. Krast is a player that I'm unfamiliar with. We've casted Claw before, we've casted Mafra before, Vitorino as well. I do see him earlier in the bracket, but I do notice some players that, again, I'm unfamiliar with. Some players that I've never seen before in some of these tournaments and some of these brackets, but looks like they're more, amateur players, more diamond players, seeing an opportunity to compete. And really cool to see Krast performing well, making it to the finals. GG. GG, well played. I don't know if they're going to host more of these in the future. The prize pool was actually quite hefty for this. I hope they do. It's a really good way to kind of foster the scene, foster growth. It looks like there are a lot of active, 4K players, around 4K players in the Brazilian scene, so it'd be really cool to see them compete on a more regular basis. So wish them the best. That leads us into the Rookie Warpgate Invitational 2025 Summer Edition. Rookie Warpgate, of course, that is a Chinese team, a clan/team. We actually saw them compete in the Chicken King Team League, if you recall. But looks like here they are running their own invitational, run and organized by Pioneer. Pioneer is also a player that we have casted in the past, I believe a Terran player. But looks like this might be also a little bit more restricted. Looking at the signups here, I don't notice any other. I see Pioneer playing. The organizer, he played in the tournament himself. Of course he did. I'll be honest, in my mind, Pioneer, he's probably one of the more notable players here, and he does perform quite well, but he goes down in the semifinals. And we have a Terran player, actually. Let's see. Google Translate. Terran player does take the win. His name translating to Shen does claim the win here over, oh boy, over Janpan Maldunai. Keyboard poison milk is what it translates to. That might be like too literal of a translation. Maybe it's like keyboard poison, keyboard venom. I think something like that is probably like the ID. But regardless, congratulations to Shen for claiming the win 4-0 over his opponent. Apparently, this was an invitational, from my understanding. Apparently, there wasn't like a qualifying process for this, so interesting. I don't know how the players were invited, but regardless, really cool to see a big event like this. I say big event because it had an entire group stage, then into playoff bracket as well. A lot of work would have been put into running the event itself, so shout out to Pioneer. Shout out to Pioneer. Running an event like this is not easy. Not easy at all. A lot of players to keep track on. A lot of players to keep track of. A lot of matches to keep track of as well. So GG. Shout out to Pioneer. And congratulations to Shen for claiming the win for being the rookie Warpgate Summer Champion. GG well played. That leads us into the Sunrise Cup 213. This is a weekly open tournament. I say weekly, it's a weekly tournament for the Chinese scene, for the Chinese player base. And this week, we typically have players like Cholo Loves performing quite well. But I do notice something. There was no Oriana this week. Not this week. There was another player that's kind of going over my head a little bit here. Nanami, that's it, Nanami Chiaki. Nanami Chiaki has been winning a lot of these in recent times. Likewise with Tsukinu Deer as well, but they are not here, not this time. Instead, we have a Terran player, Chinese Terran player. It is Millennium Fox. Okay, Millennium Fox does claim the win, 3-2 over Night Stalker. Really impressive. And again, a lot of the bigger notables weren't here this time. Jollywood Loves. Jollywood Loves was. He got knocked out early, but again, there was no Nami, there was no Oriana. I want to say that recently Lemon was competing in one of these as well. But here they're not available, they're not competing, and instead we do have Millennium Fox claiming the win. Congratulations, a clutch 3-2, a clutch best of 5 in those finals. GG, well played. That leads us into the Legacy Weekly Japan. This is a weekly tournament for Japanese players. This is the Prospect Edition. Remember, the Prospect Edition is for those that are up and coming. If you had recently won a Legacy Weekly, you would be ineligible to compete in the Prospect Tournament. And here we have Deadly Kitten. Deadly Kitten, who we have seen actually around in some of these events in the past, does take down Crimson 2-1. Big win for Deadly Kitten. And fun fact, Crimson was the only player to take a map off of Deadly Kitten. So it's a little bit unfortunate that they face off so early on. Like, I rate Crimson quite highly. He streams a lot. I think we've rated him a couple of times. But Crimson does stream a lot. Alas, Deadly Kitten takes down Crimson, takes down his next couple of opponents, Hidekuri and Noah Shirayuki. Congratulations to Deadly Kitten. Congratulations, GG, well played. Does win this week's Legacy Weekly Japan. That leads us into this week's OSC tournaments. So this week there was no Rising Star. It looks like we had a bit of a week off in regards to the Rising Star tournament, so there was no update in regards to that event, but we did have the OSC King of the Hill 223. Here we had a crazy event. We were fortunate to be the casters of this event this week, and we did have a tournament here where we didn't really have many long win streaks. It happens every now and then. Sometimes you have like one win, then one win, and players they just constantly trade back and forth. Sometimes you have one dominant player that goes on a massive win streak. Here wasn't quite the case. Here initially we had the admin versus the caster. Bob Lemoche, he is a French caster. Cavalier, that is Eddie. He is the event organizer. He's the owner of OSC. They face off in the first round. Eddie was able to claim the win. It was really nostalgic casting and seeing Eddie compete again after many, many years. It's great to see him once again. But then he went down to GG Machine. GG Machine, he went on a short win streak, took down Eddie, took down MinoVK, took down Moja. 3 wins in a row. And then Lemon came out of left field. Lemon, he has been competing in these for the past 2 weeks. He's a newer addition to the OSC Elite Club, so it's really cool to see more Lemon. Lemon, he's a great player. He competed as Zerg and Terran in the past. Now he's competing as Protoss, and he is the best player in all of Taiwan right now. He has kind of taken that mantle from Haas and from Nice in years past. Lemon has taken like kind of that mantle, and he's been performing quite well. Takes down GG Machine, takes down Sebestus, takes down Nick Rat. Really nice wins, really big names going down here to Lemon, at least in the European scene. Lemon gets 3 wins, and then he goes down. So GG Machine, he got 3. Lemon got 3. Then Percival comes in, takes down Lemon, takes down Sig, takes down Cristiano, gets 3 wins, and then also knocked out again. So 3 wins, 3 wins, 3 wins. Percival goes down to Creator. Creator, he comes out of nowhere, he comes out of left field, takes down Percival, takes down Shameless, Geralt takes down Bjorn. That was a spicy match 14, if I recall correctly. That was a very intense, very aggressive game. I want to say they played on Last Fantasy. Yeah, they played on Last Fantasy, which is a rare sight. I remember that Bjorn, he actually had a lead. Bjorn, he got a lot of economic damage early on. He took a lead. And then Bjorn was passive. Bjorn, he kind of left Creator alone. Creator, he was able to stabilize. He caught back up and one massive fight. I say one massive fight. Basically, Bjorn, he lost like 2 drops consecutively. He lost an army on the right, lost an army on the left, and then bam, Creator, he went straight for the kill, straight down the center, and Creator overwhelmed. He just overwhelmed. He punished. He capitalized on Bjorn overextending, and Creator took a crazy game there on Last Fantasy. And he gets the final win over Nightmare. So big win there for Creator. He's the first player in this tournament to get more than 3. He was able to stabilize. He was able to gain 5 wins. And Creator is this week's King of the Hill. Congratulations. Congratulations here to Creator. Very well done. Really well earned as well. Not easy, as he has to take down both Bjorn, Nightmare, and again, Percival and Geralt as well, and Shameless. Like some really, really strong opponents towards the end of the broadcast. Creator took them all down. GG, well played. So really solid performance there. That leads us into the, and again, that's like a best of 1 OSC King of the Hill style format. Weekly tournaments, always great to see, as this style of tournament is very rare nowadays. Very, very rare. That leads us into Lily Cup weekly number 3. Again, this is a new weekly open tournament that is leading into a monthly finals. Remember that the monthly finals are right around the corner. I believe actually this is the last weekly before the August finals. So that's going to be the big invitational that we can actually go through, as I believe we have confirmed players. But for now, when it came to this weekly, we had quite a lot of PvP, if you recall. We had a Showtime. Showtime took down Shin 2-1. Big win there for Showtime. That was the longest series. That was a lot of late game. We were lucky enough to cast up, but there was a lot of late game between Shin and Showtime. That was like an hour long best of 3, if not more than an hour long. By the time we finished that, I think Hero was already in the semis. I think he was already waiting. It was like, oh my god. Then we had Classic versus Showtime. Despite Showtime's big win, Classic was able to bring down Showtime 2-1 in the PvP. Very short series, a lot of all-ins. Classic, he's been going for a lot of 1-base all-ins in recent times. Takes down Showtime, then he does fall to Hero. Hero popping off. Hero takes down Rogue, takes down Classic 2-1, and then faces off against MaxPax in the finals. And it was a very intense back and forth, went all the way to the ace match. We have been speaking about this quite a lot as of late, but MaxPax has reinvented himself, specifically in PvP. MaxPax, he has now improved. I would say that PvP maybe was his weakest matchup this year for the majority of 2025, but has recently started to be more versatile in PvP, has been cheesing a lot more, has been going for 2-gate all-ins. It has been more rare to see MaxPax go for the quote-unquote MaxPax opener of a more economic start. He's done with that. He's been more aggressive, and he has found a lot more success in that aggression, as MaxPax took down Solar, Cure, and Hero in this tournament. Big wins here for Solar. Sorry, for MaxPax. Big wins for MaxPax as it takes down a top Korean Zerg, Terran, and Protoss respectively. Went all the way to the ace match against both Solar and Hero, but still a very strong performance. So again, MaxPax is very much so in form. Very much so in form. That leads us into KSL, the Korean StarCraft League weekly number 79. This is a weekly tournament open to all, but at a more Korean-friendly time. Here, despite that, we had some NA representation. It was really cool to see both Nina and Estrella competing in this tournament. Also, we should fix this bracket because Nina did not play Protoss against Triple, and I believe didn't play Protoss against Classic either. Nina was playing Zerg. Nina, she has been streaming a lot of Zerg as of late, and did also, because she's been streaming so much Zerg, did compete as Zerg as well. So I want to say that Nina played Zerg against both. I know that she played it at least against Triple. Pretty sure she played it against Classic as well. So we did have non-stop Zerg there out of Nina, not Protoss, so we'll have to fix that up. Meanwhile, we did have a Hero. Hero took down Prom 2-1, went to the ace match. That also has to be changed. Who made this Wikipedia page? God damn it. Nina was not the only one off-racing. Hero also off-raced. So Prom did not take a map off of Hero's Protoss. Prome took a map of Hero's Terran. Hero did off-race his Terran against Prome, but it's a little bit more complicated. Hero, he played game 1 with Terran, did win. Played game 2 with Terran, he lost, and then game 3, Hero played Protoss. Hero did switch to Protoss for the final game to make sure he won that series. He got a little bit shaky, he got a little bit scared by Prome, did force him to play his main race, so there was some race switching happening in that series. But then Hero, he 2-0'd Beyond and 3-0'd Cure. Hero, he is looking very, very in form as of late. We saw him go down to max packs earlier, but it went all the way to the ace match. Here, doesn't drop a map with his Protoss. Does drop a map with his Terran. So GG well played. Shout out to Kira. Kira took down Percival, took down Classic as well. Kira also looking in form. But Hero, he is a beast, and he is typically the champion of KSLs. Like, KSLs are where he thrives. Oh, it's a big win there for Hero. That leads us into the CSO Cup. CSO Cup number 85. Another weekly open tournament or semi-regular open tournament. Here we did have Björn. Björn, he, as we mentioned before, talking about RSL, Björn is one of those grinders that plays in everything he can. Plays in everything he can. I mean, hey, he played in KSL. Here, he doesn't drop a map. Takes down Shu, takes down Replicant, takes down Jumi 3-0. Again, Björn, he does go to town. He does claim all these wins. Shout out to Jumi for making it here to the finals, but alas, Björn does claim it in the end. Björn does claim it. GG well played. That leads us into, and shout out to CSO. CSO, they are an esports team. They used to have a bigger roster, but nowadays I think they're focusing more on content creation. You can see here that Replicant is representing CSO, for example. And I want to say they have a couple of other players as well. But again, they've been running this on a semi-regular basis, and really cool to see them continuing to run, continuing to cast, continue to do as much as they can for the scene. Big shout out to CSO. Big shout outs. Leads us into Sparkling Tuna Cup. Sparkling Tuna Cup number 103. This was our weekly tournament, and I'll be honest, there were some surprising results here. We did have the return of Ashbringer. If you remember, Ashbringer, it has been a long time since he's competed. I would always kind of mix up Ashbringer and Exo Striker. I would always mix them up whenever we would cast them, as they would often play together in King of the Hills and OC King of the Hills and other online open cups. But quickly double checking here, I want to say that Ashbringer hasn't competed in a year. I want to say around a year. Let me just double check. But Ashbringer, it's been a very, very long time since he's been actively competing in these online tournaments and these open cups. Ashbringer has been competing in regional events, specifically in like regional, more like Russian-centric tournaments. But when it comes to these more open cups, he used to be very active. Last time he played in these was, let's see, June 2024. So it's been over a year since he was, actively playing in OC King of the Hills, Sparkling Tuna Cups, ESL Open Cups, Bassless Big Bang Bulls, all these big tournaments, all these more regular events he used to compete in, again, over a year ago. Since then, since June of last year, he's just been playing in some regional stuff here and there, but nothing open, not anymore. It's a bit of a shame. But he has kind of taken a step back in regards to competing until now. This is his big return. Great to see. Takes down Hacker's top 2-0 and then faces off against Beyond. So a rough second round opponent. Björn takes down Ashbringer 2-0, takes down Creator 2-0 as well. Big wins there for Björn. Likewise, Solar took down Rebellion, took down Showtime in the semifinals. That was a very close series, by the way. Very close between Showtime and Solar. Went all the way to the ace match. And then we had the grand finals here. Grand finals between Björn and Solar. Björn, he was being a little bit cheeky in this tournament, not gonna lie, being a little bit cheeky when it came to his play, but Solar, he was looking solid, and I typically favor Björn against Solar. I do favor Björn against Solar. I do feel like Solar has been having a bit of a harder time as of late, so a big reason for that is because Solar went on vacation after EWC. It took a break post EWC, so he's been recently coming back, and has been looking a little bit rough around the edges, so I wasn't expecting him to beat Björn, to beat Showtime, let alone Björn, but Solar popped off. Really impressive play there. Congratulations. Solar is this week's big tuna. GG well played to Solar. Hold on, is this his first Tuna Cup win? I know he's played in a decent amount of them. Double checking. Second, okay. It is his second Tuna Cup. Let's go, baby, let's go. Second Tuna Cup win. He's gotten second place a couple of times against Bjorn. But yeah, this is his second overall win. Congratulations. Congratulations to Solar. That leads us into the Wardy TV Monday number 49. If you remember, it was this tournament which was played by the match reporting that was going on tournaments, also on map makers. And it was this tournament where we actually had to use TLMC maps instead of LE maps because the ladder edition maps were removed from the game. So it was a bit of a shaky tournament, and there were some delays because of that, but we got around to it in the end. We were able to get through it. Here we did have Hero. He popped off. He took down Creator 2-0, took down Solar 2-0 as well. Solar once again 2-0's Bjorn. 2 days in a row. Remember, Tuna Cup was Sunday. Wardy TV Monday was Monday. So yeah, nice wins there from Solar. 2 days in a row takes down Bjorn. Hero takes down Solar 2-0, and then Hero claims the win in the end. But not the most likely of opponents here. Showtime, I don't want to gloss over it. He popped off. Showtime, what did he do? He 2-1 Classic. He got his revenge. Remember, Classic did beat Showtime previously, I want to say in Little League Cup. So previously in the week, Classic did defeat Showtime. Here, Showtime gets his revenge. We were lucky enough to cast that. And Showtime doesn't play against MaxPax. He went down to Hearthstone. He had some crazy builds. We saw a lot of mind games. If you remember, we didn't get to cast game 1 and game 2, but we got into game 3, the ace match of Hearthstone versus MaxPax, and basically Hearthstone faked MaxPax out. MaxPax believed that Hearthstone was all-inning, so MaxPax was playing very safe. Hearthstone instead was expanding, was teching, was building up, and MaxPax fell behind. He fell behind, just overreacting to his opponent, overreacting to Hearthstone, and in the end, Hearthstone was able to take MaxPax down in the mid game after claiming a big lead, after having a really big economic lead. In the end, Hearthstone, he wasn't punished. I think he killed the first Oracle, like he shut down the attempted harass. He defended really well against the Adepts. He just snowballed into a win from there. Hearthstone, he got ahead, he stayed ahead, he got further ahead, and took down MaxPax. It was really impressive play there by Hearthstone. It was a little bit short-lived because Showtime took him down, but again, still really impressive play against MaxPax nonetheless from the captain. So very nice performance there by Hearthstone. Because of that, Showtime was able to advance onto the semis over Hearthstone instead of MaxPax, for example. I mean, Showtime has been MaxPax before, but I'm sure he was content that he didn't have to play him then. And likewise, Showtime took down Clem. Big win there for Showtime. Solo play as well. He shut down Clem. Clem was trying to be cheeky, trying to be aggressive. In the end, Showtime was able to start past him, and in the end went down to Hero. So may not have won the tournament, but hey, he took down Clem. Took down Clem and Hearthstone and Classic. So really solid performance there from Showtime. May not have won, but achieved a lot to make it to the finals. With that, congratulations to Hero. That leads us into the Roddy All Random Finals. Roddy, he has been running these random tournaments where players have to play random. There's a lot of RNG that comes into play here, and I believe this featured all the top players. It does invite all the top random players from the randoms, or from the events done, or hosted previously, I should say. And here we had Rainer. Jumi, I was actually looking forward to see Jumi compete here, and Jumi, he played really, really well. He took down Ledlix, took down Spirit, but did fall to Rainer in the ace match in the upper bracket finals, and Jumi then fell to Lambo. Lambo also has some really strong random, just because Lambo plays a lot of Protoss and Zerg. Like Lambo, he has some really strong Protoss and Zerg. His Terran, I want to say, is Lambo's weakest link. It's his weakest kind of race to play with, but hey, did not land on Terran in that series against Jumi. Played Protoss and Zerg instead, so Lambo did pop off, and then we had the grand finals. The grand finals here, and this is telling us to what I just mentioned. Lambo, his Protoss and Zerg are solid, his Terran is not. And as you can see, Lambo, he won game 1 with Protoss, he won game 2 with Zerg, then game 3, landed on Terran, lost the game. Game 4, landed on Terran, lost the game. Lost the game as well. Then in the ace match, landed on Protoss, but Rainer landed on his main race. So again, it's just all RNG. It's all RNG in regards to what you land on, what your opponent lands on. Rainer, he rolled the dice well, landed on Zerg for the finals, for the ace match, and won it in the end. Congratulations here to Rainer. He does win it in the end. The Gamba was real. The Gamba was solid. Even won the TBT against Lambert. So really impressive. And congratulations to Rainer for being the most random player. Congrats. Congratulations. His reward is that he gets to play in the Rift. God damn it. He's off lost in the Rift, papi. Aye, aye, aye. That leads us into the Biggest Cup number 46. Unfortunately, we weren't able to cover this event. We were slated to, but unfortunately, I was just unavailable. I was just very, very worn out. Haven't been feeling the most amazing as of late, the most in form. So we did not cast this event. But regardless, Jesus, non-stop PvT. Non-stop PvT. Typically, we have like one token Zerg player that gets knocked down in the round 16, at least. Not this time. Jesus. So we did have Estrella. Estrella takes down Bjorn 2-1. Big win there for Estrella. Their Max Angel, very impressive. Takes down Bjorn. If you remember, I spoke about this when we were discussing the RSL group about how Estrella, his best matchup is PvT. But in his group, he has no Terran. He has no Terran opponents. I was again just really unlucky when it comes to the group drawing for Estrella. And you can see here like how good his PvT is. Takes down Bjorn. Does lose to Clem, but Clem is the best Terran in the world. There's no shame in getting 3-0'd by Clem. So again, really impressive. I mean, again, give Estrella, Bjorn, Gumiho, Cure, like Estrella, he can pop off. Unfortunately, went up against Clem. Clem takes him down 3-0. And in the grand finals, we had Hero. Hero takes down Mute 2-0, takes down a Cure 3-1, and takes down Clem 3-0 in the finals. Again, Hero, he is in form. I think a lot of people do overlook Hero just because, I mean, technically, Classic had a better performance, had a better tournament result at EWC, but as we were trying to emphasize at the time, Hero, he never really got to play his games. Like he made a post afterwards talking about how he felt like he never really got to show his builds at EWC. He never had the opportunity to. He felt very very lacking. He felt very unfulfilling just because he didn't really get to show his best at EWC. And you're seeing it here in these now off-season matches, 3 over Clem, and likewise 1 against Showtime previously as well. GG. Solid performance there by Hero. Congratulations. Clem, of course, I should also emphasize, he has been on vacation. After EWC, he went to Croatia, I think. He went on a vacation to Croatia. So Clem, he took some time off. So Clem, he's also kind of like, a little bit rusty, a little bit rough around the edges. He's also kind of like getting back into the swing of things. So great to see more of Clem. Great to see more of him because we have been missing him the past couple of weeks because he has been on holiday. He has been on holiday, but he is back. Speaking of being back, I believe we have wrapped up. Oh, not quite. We are in the middle of the Wardy TV Summer Championship, and I believe that they are currently running the event as we speak. So we actually have some updates as the event is ongoing. But heading on down, we did wrap up the group stage. Did we go over the final results? We did not. So I think we were in the middle of Group C at the time. So quickly wrapping up Group C, in the end we had Hero and Zan making it through Group C. Bunny and Solar did get knocked out. I did mention, if you recall, that Solar's been having a bit of a harder time as of late, which is why I was really impressed and surprised that he beat Bjorn in the finals of Tuna Cup. And even had a better performance as well in the other Open Cups. But here, Solar did struggle. Likewise, Bunny goes down to Zan. That might be telling as to what's going to occur at RSL. Might be. That also leads us to Group D. In Group D, this we didn't have results on, but we did predict Classic and Nightmare. Classic and Nightmare, they do advance on. Spirit and Percival do get knocked out. Actually, I think I want to say that I wanted to give Percival like a good chance to make it through, but alas, he doesn't. Did take some maps, but still did go down to Spirit. Likewise, actually, Spirit and Nightmare went all the way to the ace match. Really cool to see. It barely went in favor of Nightmare. Nightmare, we spoke about this previously. He recently returned from retirement. So Nightmare, he has been slowly rising the ranks, and Nightmare is one of those players that your eyes should be on when it comes to his rate of improvement over the next couple of weeks. Sorry, next couple of months. So over the next couple of months here, I'm really excited to see how far Nightmare can go. How strong can he perform, and how again how much he will grow over the course of the next year. We'll see. My eyes are on Nightmare. That leads us into the playoffs. Into the playoffs here, we did have our top players. We had Clem, and Clem takes down Nightmare 3-0 despite Nightmare's growth. Again, Clem, he is still best Terran in the world. Takes down Nightmare 3-0. Maxpax takes down 3-0. Ooh, a lot of 3-0s in the first round. Hero takes down Beyond 3-0, and Classic takes down Cure 3-0. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a, I almost want to say class disparity here. Clem, Max Pax, Hero, Classic, these are the best players in the world when it comes to their respective races. I think most would agree when it comes to top 3 Protoss in the world, Hero, Classic, Max Pax. They are the top 3 Protoss players in the world. Hero and Classic being the top 2 offline Protoss players, and then you include Max Pax when you talk about online Protoss play. Clem takes out MaxFax 3-1. Does it advance on to the upper bracket finals? Classic takes down Hero 3-1. Very impressive play there by Classic. Does win the PvP. And the upper bracket match is going to be taking place later tonight. Later, it looks like tonight they're going to be crowning the champion. Okay, so tonight they're going to be wrapping this up. So Clem and Classic, they're slated to play soon. Actually, I think they're starting. I think they're about to start. Scrolling down, we did have Nightmare. Nightmare took down Zaun. That's actually quite impressive. I would rate Zaun above Nightmare at the moment, just because Nightmare's been gone for so long. So really nice win there for Nightmare. Kira takes down Bjorn. I do rate Kira's TVT higher than Bjorn's for sure. Hero takes down Nightmare. Hero does advance on to the lower bracket finals. MaxPax 3-0's Cure, and then MaxPax 3-0'd Hero. That's a really impressive win there for MaxPax. The last time they played, it went all the way to the ace match, but as we tried to emphasize previously, MaxPax specifically has been improving and has been working on his PvP. So I do actually like his chances against Hero and Classic if he plays against them. If he plays against Clem, the Clem is going to be a little more comfortable, a little more potentially even favored there against MaxPax. Unfortunately, we don't get a Hero versus Clem rematch. Remember, Hero, he 3-0'd Clem not too long ago in the weeklies. It would have been cool to have seen them have a rematch here. Not going to be the case there. They do miss each other. They do not play. Instead, Clem has to worry about Classic and MaxPax instead. My predictions for this here, who do I favor? Classic versus Clem is a tough one, to be honest. That's a tough one to call. I favor Clem over MaxPax. I feel like Clem versus Classic should be a closer series. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to the ace match. When it comes to Classic versus MaxPax, do I rate MaxPax's PvP higher than Classic? I think I might. Like, specifically because MaxPax has been working on his PvP, he's been looking really, really impressive. I think MaxPax has a better chance against Classic than against Clem. But I also think Classic has a better chance against Clem than against MaxPax. Like, so there's almost like a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing going on between these three players. And that's going to determine who's going to be the two finalists as well. I think the safe bet is that Clem. I think maybe Clem probably has the best chance to win the entire event and to be our champion. But I can see a world where Classic beats Clem, and then Clem beats MaxPax, then Classic beats Clem again. Like, I can see that happening for sure. But I think the safe bet is probably Clem. I think Clem is probably the safe bet to take it all. Regardless, best of luck. Best of luck to our players. If Clem beats Classic, I see MaxPax making it to the finals, and then I see Clem beating MaxPax in the finals as well. So regardless, best of luck. Again, this is going to be taking place over on Morty's channel. They are currently mid-series, and this event is going to be wrapped up tonight. So best of luck. Best of luck to all the players. GG. Also, big shout out to Istan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for subscribing for 32 months. Crazy, baby, crazy. GG. Wait, Clem TVT versus Nickrat? That might be. There's been a lot of like misreported races in these Wikipedia pages. It would not surprise me if Clem did not play Terran against Nickrat. It's just default because Clem is Terran. So this is in regards to Pikachu Cup number 46. It wouldn't surprise me if Clem did play Protoss there, but maybe no one casted it, so there's no accurate reporting on it. So I'm pretty sure he 2-0'd Nickrat with Protoss, but we can try to find out. We can try to like sift through some VODs and try to figure out what happened there. We'll do our best. We'll do our best. New viewer here. Love your content. I stand. True. New viewer. But with that is going to be wrapping up our events for the week. Again, quite a lot of open cups as always, some regional events, some MMR restricted tournaments as well, and even some new tournaments that we're seeing for the first time. And best of luck to the winner, to the players in the Summer Championship. If you want to play in some of these tournaments, if you want to take part, even if you're an amateur player, even if you're not a pro player, then you can sign up for a lot of these tournaments and you can compete against some of the top players in the world just for some fun, just to take part and be a part of the scene, the community, the tournament structure. You can do so with > sign up list. Here we go. We do see that the K Cup, I don't know if the K Cup is still, I don't know if that's still happening, by the way. But the K Cup is meant to be in a day's time. Whether that does unfold, yet to be determined. I know that Kanoya did mention how he was going to be postponing the K Cup and the K Cup Championship. So I don't think this is going to be happening, but if it does, the signups are there for tomorrow. We have code for Giants Cup. Ooh, that's in a day's time as well. Okay, so that's also in a day in a day and a half. We have the 5K, the 4.5K Clash. We have Sunrise Cup as well. We have code for Giants Cup Latam. That's going to be in 3 days. We have What Is You Monday. We have Sparkling Tuna Cup. We have all of our regular tournaments. All of our regular tournaments, they're all available there if you want to take part. Not just our tournaments, but tournaments in general. Open sign-up specifically. So it's all there, all available to you. So again, you can take part. Likewise, if you want to support us here on the CranKy Ducklings, you can do so via Patreon, !Patreon in the chat, and you'll get a link to our Patreon page. Again, all the money on Patreon currently goes towards players. It all goes towards the tournaments that we run. Specifically, Sparkling Tuna Cup, Sea Duckling Open, and Master Swan Open as well. It is all funded via Patreon. If we can get our next goal after this one, that's when we can start paying admins and paying casters. But up until this point, all that money goes towards the players. It all goes towards tournament prize money. So you can support and help us grow our tournaments even further and bring more players in. So you can help us out via Patreon if you wish. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Again, we are live every single week with the podcast. We do plan on moving the podcast to another day soon, just so we don't clash with other events. As there's a lot of tournaments around the corner. RSL is going to be starting soon, of course. We have Maestros of the Game that's right around the corner. We have the Stellar Fest, the newly announced Stellar Fest. We have Safe House as well. There's a lot of StarCraft on the horizon here as always, and we'll do our best to bring you all that news and cast as much of it as we can as well. When it comes to our next broadcast here on the CranKy Ducklings, we should be live in around 12 hours. In 12 hours time, we should be live with the StarCraft Evolution League Championship Round of 16, Group D. We're going to be live with Group D, the final group of the Round of 16. We also have the Little League Cup monthly finals that evening. We have Code for Giants Cup over the weekend. We have Duckling viewer replays, Masters of the Game, and much more content. It's all there. It's all over the weekend, and of course throughout the course of the week as well. So do consider following. If you enjoyed the content, if you enjoy the casting, do consider following us here. And whether it's here on Twitch, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram, Discord, or YouTube, check out our YouTube channel. All the VODs are all on YouTube, all on a daily basis. Thanks for watching. A special shout out as well to Kuro. Kuro, of course, does run the podcast, does make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible, does handle the production side of things. So big shout out to Kuro. Thank you so much. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night. We're going to be giving another StarCraft streamer a raid. We could raid Wardy. Wardy, he's running, of course, the Summer Championship, but we usually try to raid smaller streamers. And Nightmare is live, so we could give Nightmare some love, or we could just raid Wardy. We'll find someone. We'll find someone to send everyone over to. Best of luck. Best of luck. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for StarCraft Evolution, or we'll see you next week for the next podcast. See you then. See you then.